in Charleston, South Carolina. Charles sometimes calls it Charlotte. He gets towns mixed up. So I want to get this on record. We are in Charleston and it is bright and early on Sunday morning, October the 1st. It's the first day of October of 2007. And we are fixing to take a carriage ride, which doesn't start until an hour and a half from now. So, walk around the town of Charleston, I suppose, until then. And then by that time, I'll definitely be ready to ride. Your horse-drawn horse.
Yeah, they're going to church, I'm sure.
That looks blurry to you. Mind your way.
No, you're fine. There's Sharon out at the Pineapple Fountain in Charleston, South Carolina. The apartments across the street, hotels. This is the Savannah River. A large aircraft carrier. I'm going to zoom in and see if I can get it. Kind of foggy, hazy over there. Here comes the horsey coming.
We didn't miss it, so it's not food.
Yeah, last year.
Isn't that what about Joe when he says he's going to buy?
Uh-huh. Think so.
We ate here. No, we didn't eat there.
No, we didn't eat there. There's another corner down there somewhere, man.
Carolina to aid of the gentleman. Now, when you all think of Carolina, you probably just think of North and South Carolina, don't you? Well, it was larger than that. It extended south from the Virginia line into Florida, 65 miles south of St. Augustine, and then west to the Pacific Ocean. It included Southern California, Northern Mexico, and all the states in between. Nice gift, wasn't it? Hostile Indians, hostile Spanish, and then the hostile mosquitoes. So we came down the peninsula, Oyster Point. Say plan city, 4 blocks long, 2 blocks wide. It was also a walled city. Behind the camera. Several oyster shells run in line. Off on the concrete, we called it tabby. And the wall was very good for us. We were to defeat the Spanish on our first attack in 1706. Of course, it did help that a hurricane helped run them back off to St. Augustine. And by 1717, we defeated the last of the hostile Indian tribes. Now I need to make an indelicate social comment. Boston was founded by Puritans, religious. Philadelphia was founded by Quakers, it was also religious. Well, now Charlestown, Carolina was founded by 8 Lord Proprietors. And John Locke, the great English philosopher, wrote our fundamental Constitution. Building was the only thing we had, the brick. Then we was stucco and score them out to look like stone. And we've also gone through many disasters here. We have hurricanes on the average every 10 to 20 years. The last was Hugo in '89 that did $3.7 billion of damage to the city. 5 major fires and 2 major wars. Doesn't matter, we saw both of them. North America. The earthquake would measure about 7.3 on the Richter scale. So strong it was felt as far south as Cuba, as far north as Toronto, as far west as Omaha, and as far east as Bermuda. The first series of quakes lasted 9 minutes, creating 2 new fault lines. And 36 hours for the next 2 years, we had aftershocks. Not a fun time to be in Charleston. By the way, the pressure on this fault line right now is compacting at the same rate as the San Andreas Fault. See the black washed bolts? Earthquake bolts. Ran those rods through our house, connected the center with a turnbuckle. Turn a turnbuckle about a quarter of a turn every day to pull the walls back straight. Now on this fault line we have minor quakes all the time. But we'll have a major one measuring 7 or above approximately 500 years. But as I said, because of the compaction rate, we can expect it at any time, including today. Chalmers along our 7 cobblestone streets. This was ship's ballast. Ships came over empty, pick up our cotton, rice, back and indigo, and dump the ballast at piers. We built our streets out of it. See that building with a gray building with a white base?
Yeah.
Were my fathers of slave bargains.
Is that?
We were not allowed to sell slaves to the outside. We sold them inside. We do not know the four. We lost the records to them. Therefore, that market we came from was never a slave market after all. I'll explain that when we get back at the end. Now, I said we carried the sailors and pirates. We did. But this actually all changed in 1718. In that year, Blackbeard and Steve Bonnet, the gentleman pirate, came into the city. And they did not get the reception that year they thought they deserved. So they carried off 80 of our prominent citizens and held them for ransom in our harbor, threatened to cut their heads off if we didn't pay. We paid. But after they left, we set Colonial wretched with the pirates. Now we didn't find Blackbeard. The Virginians got him and beheaded him. We didn't find Steve Bonnet's crew at the mouth of the Cape Fear River in what is now North Carolina. Brought him back to Charleston for justice. During the trial, we asked Steve Bonnet why he had turned to piracy. You see, in a large plantation, Barbados, very wealthy. You know what his answer was? He said, if you had a wife like mine, you get out of the house too. Well, Lord of mercy, could well send him home. His wife would kill him. So we did it ourselves. We hung he and his crew at the battery and buried the bodies in the harbor. The low tide marked souls could never rest. Be a little bit more respectable. The old exchange building in Provost Dungeon, the last building built with English funds in Charleston, occupied by the English Revolution for the gunpowder we had stolen from them. We hid it behind the false wall of the basement, never found it. But in 1791, that second floor ballroom, George Washington danced with 268 ladies. Before he was either father or my country. Hasn't changed much from first to last, has it? And this was the offices of Walker, Evans, and Coswell. They were book printers. But they're more finished. Right next door at Printers Row today is a lovely condominium. Now also here it only took 7 adult males from a church. For that reason today there are 46 churches in the area and we're called the Holy City. Boy, I talk out both sides of my mouth, don't I? Welcome to Charleston. In fact, there's not a single street in the old walled city where you cannot see a church spire, except for Elliott Street. The theory was if you couldn't see God and God couldn't see you, God didn't know what you were doing. But 2/3 of the way down was a tavern called Poinset's Tavern. And Joe Poinsett was ambassador to Mexico. When he returned to his country, there used a plant called the poinsettia. And next to the birthplace of architect Robert Mills, who designed the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. Now this has been our harbor. It's now a landfill. Has been as 250 3 ships of harbor to give a time. These are our shops, and the merchants living above.
Hey, Bert.
How are you doing?
Good. How you?
Good.
Good.
Well, she knows 99 101. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. This is Rainbow Row, the most photographed area of the city. They say it got the name because the shopkeepers painted the shops bright colors. Illiterate slaves had nowhere to shop. That's not true. And it wasn't for the drunken husband to get home from Elliott Street either. You see, a judge bought 99 101 in 1931 as a horrible slum, as all historical districts were. He restored his white, painted the bright pink. Other people start by the house, paint the bright colors, hence the name Rainbow Row. You see, you buy a house, historical district, you're not paint color you want. No, you pick out 5 colors you like. You paint a swatch of all 5 colors inside your house. And the Board of Architecture Review will come by one day as convenience within a year and pick which way he likes. If he doesn't like your 5 colors, you pick out 5 more wait up to another year. You have the right not to live here. Now I'm going to talk about what we do best here, war. And across the harbor, Sullivan's Island, that's where we started our first one. On March 26, 1776, South Carolina's first colony to declare its independence from England. We had our first president, John Rutledge. England did not want the other 12 colonies to follow suit. So they sent a fleet ship over to teach the lesson. We heard they were coming. We did what Charleston always do in a crisis. We panicked. We knew the palmetto trees would work well with our walls, so we built a fort out of them. Each day they laughed at us. When they found out when they fired upon our fort, their cannonballs either bounced off or stuck in that spongy wood. You see, it's not really a tree, it's a plant. He goes to the state tree of South Carolina. They also didn't study our title charts very well. They went aground for 6 hours. Well, they ran out of cannonballs. We simply went out, scooped them up, fired them back at them, and won. Oh, we were proud of ourselves. So proud, we sent a messenger over to St. Michael's Church to have the bell ringer play a song to commemorate the great victory. But the bell ringer said he only knew one non-religious song that's not appropriate. The messenger played anyway. So he did on June 20, Carolina Day. He played 3 Blind Mice. Now 2/3 of the house is historic, was called the Charleston single house. They were 1 room wide. We didn't support English frontage tax that we didn't get. But since 40% of the peninsula's landfill, we found it's mostly fishing use our property. Get more houses per city block for building this way. The way they work simple, they're 1 room wide, and they got what's known as a fall store. Goes on to a piazza. We have the porch in Charleston called piazzas. And then your main door opens onto your piazza. Now I'm going to explain a very important tradition here. It's called the Northern Manor. I want you all to notice how if you went to the north side of our houses, you see here, there is absolutely positively no reason to ever look north. You see here, ladies could not show their ankles. If a gentleman saw a lady's ankles, he had to marry her on the spot or we ship her off to New Jersey. But gentlemen didn't have it so easy either. They had to wear the hot wool 3-piece suits at all times. If a lady saw a gentleman's elbows, she had to catch the vapors and faint. Now, she didn't catch the vapors back in... Well, it's hot here. So to catch the wonderful sea breezes, we pull our day beds out of our piazzas, Close up piazza doors, but you look up there. And we sleep out there exposing body parts. So now when the door saw your house, you light your stairwells. You did not want to overlook your neighbor's piazza. Another reason I built one room wide to catch the wonderful sea breezes. Now these plants grown on a high battery are also very important in our history. We use them all the time. I use them on a daily basis. They're quite handy for me. They're oleander. You see, we were occupied by foreign troops in 2 wars. The English and the Yankees. And they occupied our homes. We were good Southern hosts. We served them dinner, and after dinner, we served them Charleston tea. Oleander tea. And 2 hours later, they were dead as hammers. Yes, oleander is deadly poisonous. To this day, it cannot be detected by autopsy, thank goodness. It is that water soluble, it looks like a coronary. Does that explain why Charles II was the worst rated American third ice murder rate? In fact, let me quote Mr. Michael built Buhouse, 1854, for his third wife. He said, you know, I scarcely remember my first. My second brought me wealth, fortune, and children. The third is the love of my life. I built a Beulah house. The fourth, though, took care of me. I was old and sick. His first 3 wives all died of coronaries. But the fourth one, the 18-year-old, she got everything food in the house. And one morning, Miss Michael died of a coronary. She served him coffee. There's many foods and many beverages with oleander in. So please be careful here in Charleston. Now I'm going to give you 4 legends tour. Your legends are nice stories that may not be true. The first legend, the first marriage compromise in America, right here. The husband liked the Greek revival style, the wife liked the Italianate. They both bribed the architect to take along, design the house half and half between the rooms. Now we don't know about the rooms today because today it's the condominium for the chronically wealthy. We are now in one of the largest concentration of real estate wealth in North America. Everybody lives down here as an SOB. Down in something south of Broad Street. The Drayton Mansion built after the war. The reason they had the money to do so is they found phosphate on plantation mine, make fertilizer out of it. Then the Chinese Victorian style of architecture. The next is one of our house museums. The Edmonton Austin House. It's a modified single. It's a door that goes into a room. It's a large room and a small room. Done in the Regency style of architecture. And that brings us to our next war. And across to Harbor's Fort Sumter. We fired upon the Yankees at Fort Sumter from Fort Johnson. The battle lasted 34 hours. They ran ammunition and surrender course. As we do here, we wear you out. And in that first battle, that bloody war, there was only one casualty. Yes, one damn Yankee jackass got killed. The poor mule killed the cannon backfired to kill the poor mule.
What do some of these places sell for?
Average price is $2 million. Most of them run about $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10 million.
What's the Drake run on that?
The Ravenel Mansion lost its giant piazza earthquake in 1886. Could not afford to replace them. The next is the Roper Mansion. Several things to point out. The rope bolting around the door, take off the family name of a symbol of wealth. The lion's heads cover the earthquake bolt. The massive columns. Only 2 houses in America built this way. This was the Custley Mansion in Arlington, Virginia. But this is the columns of proportion of the house. The house is a 500-pound piece of shrapnel. It's rope in the war. The St. Julian Ravenel Mansion. The first Confederate submarine, Little Dave, was designed here. He was also the first officer in the Confederate Air Force. drove a hot air balloon for spying. And now we're coming to the battery, where we hanged up pirates from River Harbor. The Battery War of 1812 was a war between the states. Also called White Point Garden, because when the colonists got here, a bit of oyster shells left by the Indians, and our sidewalks made of crushed oyster shell. But I'm not sure you know where your asses are. This is where the Ash River here and the Cooper there meet to form the Charleston Harbor, which I mix them up to spill them over to form the Atlantic Ocean, which forms all the great seas of the world. We are now at the center of the universe, and don't tell a Charlestonian different. The Villa Margarita, built in 1890 by a 90-year-old gentleman for his 17-year-old New Orleans bride. Now, she became a widow a couple years later when he died of a coronary. Ashley Surgeons from Charleston Tea. She turned into a past hotel. President's cast stayed there. First house in Charleston, indoor swimming pool. The oldest house in Battery William Washington House. He was a cousin of George Washington. One of the few houses in America where George Washington did not sleep. Now, I told you all that Charleston's a holy city, but the favorite place to get married is that bandstand over there. Given the city in 1905 by Martha Williams Carrington to honor her parents. She loved her parents dearly. Maybe it's because of what happened on her wedding day in 1890. On her wedding morning, her father left a note on her bed, wishing her luck, happiness, success. Henry bought the corner lot on Meeting Street, and in a small satin pillowcase was $75,000 to build the house of her dreams. That's equal to well over $1 million in today's money. It's actually $1.5 million. Now, the groom's parents got to be outdone, gave the couple an all-expense-paid honeymoon to Europe to last for 2 years while the house is being constructed, with the understanding they could buy at least 2 pieces of furniture. Each country visit is shipped back home to furnish the house. There is a crystal Bavarian chandelier in there. Now, as we go by the side, in the front there's an arched window. On each side of the arched window, you'll see a stained glass window to help you spot, and they're enclosed with bulletproof plexiglass, and were insured by Lloyd's of London. They were given to her by her husband on her 50th anniversary, and they were done by another master himself personally and signed by him, Louis Tiffany. Today it's the 2 Meeting Street Inn bed and breakfast, rated by Sun of Living, one of the most romantic places in the South to stay. The Josiah Smith house, it's got a cupola on the top. The purpose of the cupola is hot air rises. Opens up there in the first floor, you put a draft natural air conditioner. It's also got the welcome, the open arm stair. These on the right, jump on the left, they're dangerous showing your ankles. These always on the right, because as we all know, ladies are always right, right?
Right.
Now I showed you where Martha lived. Let's see if we can find her daddy's little cottage. Well, the largest house in Charleston, 24,500 square feet. It has a ballroom, the second floor measures 19 by 35, with a 45-foot cove glass covered sky ceiling. But who was George Watton Williams? Who was he in fiction? He was a he was a blockade running the war, was one of those pocketbooks of calls. He only collected payments in gold, silver, British sterling. He amassed a fortune being a half during the war with banking. Consider good taste, put rope folding around your door, but nowhere else. He's got around every window, everything's posted, carriage house to the back. Because Frank didn't give a damn. Yes, be more Bishop had a Brett Butler rap. Ooh. It's called the Calhoun Marriage Estate. His youngest daughter married Patrick Calhoun, the grandson of John C.
Is this a museum now?
It's a private residence and a museum, both. The ice cream piazza house because George Watson Williams Jr. and his wife lived there and they had no children. They have ice cream parties every Sunday in New York. They built those piazzas for every child needs an ice cream Sunday. Part of that house is not stone, that's beveled wood. Ready for some more legends?
Yes.
It's a beautiful house right here. The man that lived here had 3 daughters, he sure did. A brunette, a redhead, and a blonde. Now the brunette had lovely eyebrows, the redhead rosy cheeks, but the blonde unfortunately had a black mustache. Now they weren't exactly ugly, but they were right next to it. So builders went to a house and were saying the husband in the house was the daughter. They all 3 died old maids. That's downright ugly. It's also a downright lie. 3 different periods, 3 different styles, but y'all compare and contrast. The 3 sister houses, similarities and differences. And the shows this house were painted Haint blue. Haint, H-A-N-T, of Delaware that means hall. Legends ghosts refused to go in the house because of the color shutters. You see it Haint blue and it Haint green. The William Bull House, he and his son Lieutenant Governors of Colonial, South Carolina. The Daniel Yuji House, still in the Yuji family. The officer here in 1825. I call this one the Dolly Parton Mansion. Anybody figure out why? They were added there in their fate. Well, that was the headquarters of General Pierre, a good time in Beauregard during the war. He kept a cow in the back because he had stomach trouble. They said it's because he's fighting a losing battle. It may be. You were brought New Orleans with him? His wife and 4 mistresses. That's 5 timing. He got here, he found 4 more. That's 9 timing. I don't know about Colorado. It don't work here. Here, you'd lose a body part. But that's right, you'll tea to soothe the pain. Charleston tea, that is. Columbus House 47, couldn't seem to stop having children. Built the annex in the back to house all 17 of their children. The next is one of our house museums, Nathaniel Russell House. He was king of the Yankees, Rhode Island. He built the house 1808, it cost $80,000. He had him as style. 3 main rooms per floor. 1 square, 1 oval, and 1 rectangle. But what you got to see in the house is the 3-story, circular, free-flying staircase. It's only for the land. It's going to walk up. No visible means of support, just like some of my cousins. First Scots Presbyterian Church, founded in 1731. And when the Scots came, they brought everything they owned to the golf clubs and bagpipers. Not a golf course in America. Built first in Charleston, the hospital are today. Up until 5 years ago, it's one of the last of our 9 solid churches. You see that hobble wall of northern aggression. Jefferson Davis has to go bells and calls building cannons. And once we won the war, we got the cannons back and built the bells. We didn't win the war. And after starting to, nobody in their right mind's going to be a Charleston, a cannon, or a gun. We get the cannons back to Barrett in 1931. And the audacity of concrete for getting back to us. So to commemorate the war dead, none of our churches vowed to remain forever silent. That's what I call a no-bell idea. But 5 years ago, bell was installed, so 5 years ago, bell rang in that church the first time since 1862. Once you notice that plaque that says FICO? It's a fire insurance plaque. First of the American Fire Insurance Company, so we had 13 of them. The way it works, you bought a policy, got a plaque. You had a fire, it was your fire insurance company that put your fire out. All 13 companies arrived, looked through the plaque, this was day that 12 went home. Didn't have a plaque, they all went home, your house burned down. But by law, you negotiate a fire insurance policy while your house is burning. Just talk fast and take the first offer. And that board's called a jogging board. General arthritis, with a rock bounce board, it helps arthritis. We don't keep the children in coma for the first 2 years of their lives. What was used in romance? The gentleman sat on one side of the other, rocked and bounced. But Mills, time for a marriage proposal. Now, if you're not married by the time you're 18, not only are you a bad jogger, you're an old maid. So at 70, no proposal. Possibly borrow wax, your birthday gifts, you wax that sucker down for better slippage. And the back of the Bose Hayward House where it's believed George Washington. It was addressed to Charleston 1791. And on the third floor is a four-poster bed that after the earthquake now supports the roof. That was not by choice. Comes another house museum, the Hayward Washington House. And yes, George Washington slept there. The government paid for stay there for 2 weeks. He stayed 8 days. Our first document proof of government wasted spending we have in America.
Run into you again.
I see that. And here we have Catfish Row, where the Bose Hayward novel Florida based on go-kart stand. And you know what we're going to do? Your country get tired of it. Now, for those that do not know, the shrubs that line the street are the crepe myrtles. They get the name because the bark looks like the crepe paper. They bloom in white, red, pink, and lavender for 100 days during the summer. The trees are live oaks, 2 sets of leaves, one for the summer and one for the winter. Now in the old days, a lot of people could not read and write. It was nothing to be ashamed of. They did present a problem in emergency. Now they're going to advertise what they're selling. For example, here in the corner is a millinery shop that sold hats. Ooh, never make it. But look at the sign, the Hat Man. It's all done in hats. Look at his ears, a Union hat and a Confederate hat. You see, he's definitely one ear. 16 hats. The white church building is St. Michael's, the oldest church building in Charleston. Cornerstone laid in 1752. It's not always a congregation though, that was St. Philip's. When the congregation got too large, so half the congregation named the church built a new church. Then half cut the building and changed the name to St. Michael's. And that was the corner of 4 Laws. The only place in the world Mr. Ripley said he knew of where you put a quarter in the meter and get married, go pick up your mail, go pay your taxes, then to fight with your spouse and get divorced, go back to your car and have time to meter. In other words, bail, mail, jail, and bail. Now in the old days, ladies had a lot easier to do than now. For example, say you were 9 months and having trouble with your delivery. Your doctor compassionately give you a shot of bourbon, loosen up your stomach muscle with. very carefully placed in a small buggy. And then as gently as possible, he would then run up and down that street a couple times. And the Tea House goes to the old building in Charleston, built in 1696. The site of the first theater in America, it burned. Built the Planners Hotel there very fast with John Wilkes Booth's father come to town. Got in a fight with his man and shot him. You don't give a Booth a gun either. Reopened in 1931 as a Dock Street Theater, about the auditorium where the courtyard was. Patterned after an 18th century English theater. The last James French Huguenot church in America. And in front of us we have St. Philip, the oldest Anglican congregation south of Virginia. And notice the steeple leans approximately 8 degrees. It got 6 degrees of earthquake in 1886. It was Hugh from Hugo. Restoring from Hugo, they found 8 more cannonballs to that steeple. During the 587-day siege of Charleston, it's the #1 target. They even painted that steeple black and still fired upon it. But the church has 2 cemeteries. That brings us to our last legend. The legend is this: if you're from Charleston and your family's from Charleston, you can be buried on the friend's side close to the church. But if you're not from Charleston, and may God have mercy on your soul, you got to go across the street to the stranger to make it side. And there's the grave of John C. Calhoun, and you've heard of him. Twice Vice President of the United States, Secretary of State, Secretary of War, and the greatest statesman the South ever had. His dying was buried next to his wife for 50 years. She's from Charleston, girl and friend's side. John C's from Adville, South Carolina, go across the street. The guys wished for a few years during the war. Fraser snatched his body for a trophy. So we dug him up, put him in an unmarked grave beside his wife. But after the war, we realized what we had done, so we dug him back up across the street. They say old John C. crossed the street more dead than alive. Now I want to finish up the war because we came to regret the war deeply. So December 11, 1861, a fire broke out 3 blocks up near the corner of Hazley Spade, sweeping the entire city of Charleston. Fire putting itself out of the Ashley River. It burned approximately 1/3 of the city. And we believe that was God's way of punishing us for starting that horrible war. And then we were put under siege for 587 days. And we took a direct hit on average over 16 minutes throughout that 587 days. We were devastated. In fact, when Sherman gave Savannah to Lincoln as a Christmas present, he was then given the option of burning Charleston or Columbia. We knew he'd burn Charleston. So we said everything of value, including the bells of St. Michael's, our family Bibles, and all of our heirlooms. We packed them all up and sent them to Columbia. He figures nothing worth burning in Charleston. He chose Columbia. Thank God he was wrong. You see, before that war, Charleston was the 4th largest city in America, the richest. After that war, the 1970s, we fully recovered the 1970s. The best way to describe Charleston: we were simply too tall to paint, but too proud to whitewash. Could not afford to tear down. We could, we knew we should. Now we're back to the market. I'm sure you heard it called the slave market. Call that because slaves get down to be the vendor. After all, you don't buy farmers and farmers markets. And besides, I showed you the slaves were sold. This mark was given to the city in 1788 by the Pinckney family on three conditions. That never could a slave be sold here. Must be open to public market 364 days a year. It's only closed on Christmas. Ever violate those conditions, go back to Pinckney family Charles. Pinckneys are here, they're lawyers, property's worth about $35 million. You know, they're watching. Place through more of the 19th century. They sold beef, poultry, produce, and fish. Streets inhabited by the Charleston Eagles. There was a time you could walk amongst them. All they were turkey buzzards. $5 fine you harm a lot by the 19th century. And in 1938, in the course of 1 hour, 5 tornadoes touched down this street. You ever see the book Charleston Come Hell or High Water? You see the building exists today. By all rights, we shouldn't be here. But I say this about us. Every time we go to a disaster, we come back a little stronger, a little nicer, and a little prettier. The sweetgrass basket. Only two places where you buy the baskets. Here in the low country, the west coast of Africa. One displays Smithsonian, tradition passed down by the daughter. It takes ladies between 30 and 40 hours to make one of the larger loaded baskets. Please check them out. Personally, take home from Charleston. And we have just done 357 years of history. On a little bow.